China's economic influence in Asia is growing fast, with massive infrastructure projects, strategic partnerships, and a vision to dominate trade in the region. But what if there was a counterbalance? What if Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan formed a powerful free trade alliance? Today we explore why that idea might not be so far-fetched, and how it could reshape Asia's future. Welcome back to the channel. Here's your weekly brief on the most important news from Asia and the global economy. China is the second largest economy in the world, and the largest in Asia. With the Belt and Road Initiative, investments in African and Southeast Asian infrastructure, and deep integration into global supply chains, China is playing the long game. Beijing is pushing forward with RCEP, the world's largest trade agreement, and has growing economic ties with ASEAN countries. But with that comes geopolitical tension, especially with democratic neighbors like Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. China's economic rise isn't just about business, it's about influence. Now imagine this: a unified economic bloc between Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Together, these three economies would represent over $6 trillion in combined GDP. Cutting-edge tech industries, highly developed logistics and shipping hubs, and some of the world's top education and innovation systems. A free trade agreement could mean lower tariffs, faster regional supply chains, shared R&D, and a stronger collective voice in global trade negotiations, essentially a democratic high-tech, open market counterbalance to China's economic model. Here's what's in it for each country. Japan gets more access to younger, dynamic consumer markets in Taiwan and Korea, and more cooperation in semiconductor and green energy sectors. South Korea could strengthen its export base and reduce dependence on Chinese markets, especially for high-tech goods. Taiwan would benefit from deeper regional integration and joint defense of its semiconductor dominance. Together, they'd create a resilient supply chain that is secure, diversified, and future-ready. Of course, it's not that simple. There are historical tensions, especially between South Korea and Japan, stemming from colonial-era wounds and territorial disputes. Taiwan's diplomatic isolation also complicates official agreements, as many countries, including Korea and Japan, maintain formal relations with Beijing. And China would view this kind of alliance as a strategic threat, likely responding with economic pressure or political retaliation. But even so, cooperation doesn't require a single treaty. It can start with bilateral agreements, industry partnerships, and multilateral dialogues. Imagine trilateral summits, expanded people-to-people exchanges, and joint initiatives on green energy, semiconductors, or AI. Taiwan and Korea could learn from Japan's manufacturing prowess and aging solutions. Japan could tap into Korea's digital innovation and Taiwan's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And all three could boost their soft power through cultural diplomacy, tourism, and educational exchanges. The combined GDP of Japan, Korea, and Taiwan is over $6 trillion. That's around twice the size of India's economy and larger than all but 4 countries worldwide. Their combined population is over 70 million people, roughly the same as the US and China. So the potential market size of this alliance is huge. When it comes to foreign direct investment, Japan ranks 3rd globally, Korea 7th, and Taiwan 12th. In terms of total exports, Japan comes in 3rd, China 2nd, and Korea 7th. Collectively, they could form one of the biggest export champions in the world. If these 3 countries eliminated tariffs among themselves, it would make their supply chains cheaper and more efficient. They could specialize in different parts of the production process and reap the benefits of a larger, more integrated market. For example, Korean cars could use Japanese auto parts and Taiwanese electronics. Imagine Japanese camera lenses produced in Korea and installed in Taiwanese smartphones, or Korean cosmetic brands sold in Japanese drugstores. Moreover, this free trade area could harmonize regulations and standards, making it easier for businesses to trade across borders. This would foster more cross-border investment and collaboration. Moreover, a trilateral FTA would enhance their negotiating power in global trade deals. By presenting a united front, they could push back against protectionist policies and defend common interests. And it's not just about economics. Such an alliance could pave the way for closer security cooperation. While not a military alliance, closer economic ties often lead to greater defense partnerships and intelligence sharing. Jointly defending core technologies like semiconductors would be crucial. To pull this off, they need to overcome key obstacles: history, trust, and China. First, historical baggage. Colonial disputes, territorial rows, and wartime memories still linger between Japan and Korea. To move forward, they must acknowledge the past, address victims' concerns, and focus on shared interests. Second, building trust. Korea and Japan have been at odds on many issues, which hurts people-to-people ties and business confidence. Confidence-building measures, regular summits, and youth exchanges can help. Finally, China factor. Beijing opposes any moves to contain or block its rise. An FTA between these three countries would be seen as a strategic threat. To mitigate risks, this alliance should: 1. Focus on economic benefits, not geopolitics. 2. Be inclusive, allowing other countries to join. 3. Emphasize interdependence, making it hard for China to decouple from. 4. Build up complementary industries, not competing ones. And 5. Don't neglect the public. Engage them to shape this vision. A unified free trade zone won't solve everything, but it could give East Asia a democratic, high-tech, future-focused alternative and keep the balance of power from tipping too far. As China grows, it's not just economically, but also in terms of assertiveness. Beijing's actions in the South China Sea, Hong Kong, Xinjiang, and Taiwan Strait raise concerns for regional stability. A strong East Asian alliance can counter China's aggressive moves by offering a positive alternative. Moreover, such an alliance could become a linchpin in the Indo-Pacific. There's a growing multipolarity in the region. Countries don't want to choose between the US and China. They seek more autonomy. A rules-based Indo-Pacific order requires: 1. More options for countries, not just US or China. 2. Emphasis on norms, not just military power. 3. Deeper economic ties, not just security pacts. And 4. Greater inclusivity, not just big powers. An East Asian alliance fits this vision perfectly. Some may argue that this idea is unrealistic. Japan and Korea have territorial disputes. They have different political systems and histories. Plus, China's opposition is a major obstacle. However, public sentiment is shifting. Younger generations in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are more globally minded. They're less tied to historical grudges and more aware of shared threats. Businesses are also leading the way. Joint tech ventures, startup hubs, and cultural exchanges are increasing. Despite history, the lure of a bigger market, shared expertise, and counterbalancing China is too enticing to ignore. The global economy is becoming more fragile. Fragmented supply chains, rising protectionism, and China's unpredictable behavior increase risks. Companies are seeking trusted regional supply chains that aren't overly dependent on Beijing. And when you add trusted partners with whom you share values and a market of 70 million consumers, that's a compelling proposition, of course. This path isn't easy. Decades of mistrust, historical baggage, and China's pushback will test this vision. But is it possible? As public support for cooperation is growing, businesses are already bridging divides, and the timing is right. The global economy needs more resilient supply chains and a rules-based order. A democratic alliance of Japan, Korea, and Taiwan could pioneer that model. They have the economic heft, technological edge, and shared values to make it happen. Now is the time to build bridges. Overcoming history is hard, but necessary. Trust is essential. And China's rise shouldn't be contained, but balanced. Together, these three countries can offer an alternative model for Asia and the world. The question is, will they? If you enjoyed this episode, you'll love our new series. It's the next 5 years. We asked experts from around the world to give us their predictions on the trends shaping our future. From globalization to pandemics, inflation to AI, these deep dives analyze what's coming next and what it means for you. Check out the series on our website. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more insights on the evolving world economy. Till next time.